welcome to the Coaching Corner. My name is Matt Gleed, and today we're going to be looking at a potential customer, or maybe someone you're already working with. So let me set the scene as to who we're looking at today. It's going to be a female, aged 40 to 50 years old, who currently does some of your group exercise classes. Now, she has said to you that she's looking to improve her running and maybe would like some personal training from you as well. Now, at this point, I'm going to take you through a range of videos, throw in some exercises and some suggestions as to what I would do with that person. So maybe you can start to pick my brains, think about some of the things that I would be doing with that person, and maybe just listening and watching some of these videos will help you think about some of the things that you could do either differently or you could work towards, or maybe you're just going to get the absolute pleasure of knowing that you're spot on in the way that you're training that person as well. Okay, first of all, let's talk about the goal of this client. So we know her age, we know that she is going to be wanting to work towards improving her fitness. So there's already a goal there. Now, the first thing that I would do is really try and deep dive into this goal a little bit more. So let's use this hypothetical lady where she is going to have already achieved 5 kilometers of running. Now, she's done the couch to 5k. She may have done it with a friend or maybe done it on her own. So what I would be doing very early is starting to work towards a goal of achievement. Maybe looking at towards a race of 5k. Maybe it could be a race for life type scenario, or maybe a local charity one. Maybe it's just something where she's going to have that park run goal where she's going to be looking at a certain date to achieve a certain distance in that period of training. Now, ideally, I'm going to be focusing on a target which will give me around about 10 to 12 weeks. This will give me effectively maybe a hypothetical of 10 sessions where we're going to try and get this lady to be working out. Now, she already comes to some of your classes. That's our preempt here. Now, if she's doing classes, let's call them a couple of group exercise classes a week, but she's looking to run maybe once or twice a week. Now, let's start to think about some of the strength and conditioning exercises that we could throw in here as well. So now we've got a bit of a clear idea of the goal. Check out the next video and we're going to start diving deep into the type of training methods that I would recommend that she would go through. Okay, let's start thinking about this training plan. Let's turn around and talk about the days of the week. So she's coming into doing group classes on a Monday, Wednesday, and she also enjoys doing the Saturday morning classes. Now, if she's doing 2 to 3 classes a week with you, then I'm going to always turn around and say, right, let's talk about the days that she could run. So maybe it's going to be a Tuesday and a Thursday running as well. Now, because the goal of 5k isn't the longest, we're not talking about half marathon or marathon training, we probably only need her to be doing around about 30 minutes of exercise as part of her running. Now, she's going to be improving her fitness through her fitness classes as well, but we can start to focus on improving your running with just maybe 2 20 to 30 minute runs a week. So let's start to think about those runs in terms of how they're going to be. Now, she's already used to doing a bit of interval training because she's been using the app. Now, during the app, they're going to get her set up where she's going to do anything from 3 to 4 minutes of running and then a little bit of a walk and then back up again. So there's a few things that we can consider here. One is trying to keep her onto flat terrain. That will give her the ability to maintain a steady speed. As soon as you start taking people up hills, they start to feel like it's harder work and they're also challenging their muscles a lot more. So we can maybe save the hills for a little bit later on. So let's talk a little bit further about how this plan can start to evolve. Okay, so let's talk about the why I've chosen some of this training protocols. So I'm going to be looking at around about 3 weeks of progressive training, then a slightly easier week, and then build up to another 3 weeks, slightly easier week, and then build up again. Now, the way I'm looking at this is we're going to be potentially running on a Tuesday, a Thursday, and potentially going to be doing a slightly longer steady state run on the weekend. So if I've got somebody who's doing 2 to 3 group exercise classes a week, and I'm looking for them to run 2 to 3 times a week, maybe I can encourage them just to start to put in a little bit more of their focused endurance training, that steady state run on the weekend instead of that 3rd class a week. Now, I know it might not be what they want to do, but as they start to improve their fitness and they start to focus on towards the goal, which is going to be preset in 12 weeks time, then we can start to really get them to really be accountable for the amount of distance that they're looking to achieve. And that long run on the weekend, that steady state run, it really doesn't matter what time they're finishing. I'm just looking at them being able to run a nice steady flat route. So maybe it is a case of joining a park run or going and finding a bit of terrain which is nice and flat where they can just run for a sustained period of time. Now, in the 2 runs during the week, the Tuesday and Thursday runs, I'm going to be looking at them to try to work towards improving their ability. So we're going to be doing some interval training. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask them to work every couple of weeks onto different terrain. So we're going to have some flat speed work. We're also every couple of weeks going to throw in a hill session as well. So have a little look on the printout below at some general sessions that I would put together and try to find the undulating periodization between them. Now what that really means is that we're going to be focusing on different things at different times. In particular, the reason why I want to explain these is sometimes we're going to be focusing on a bit of speed work, sometimes we're going to be doing some hill work, sometimes we're going to be working on a little bit of strength and conditioning as well. So have a little look at the tables below at some of the exercises and some of the planning that I would put together and see if you can start to spot the way that we're building in a little bit more speed or a little bit more duration. And ultimately, every time that we come around to that weekend of working on that steady state, we're just looking for that person to run for a sustained period of time. And that way then, it doesn't matter how far they get to or the time that they're working towards, they just get used to running for a steady period of time. And that will really help them when they actually start to work towards that goal. Now, remember the goal was always to either compete in a 5K race or potentially move towards the 10K. So if you've got a client that is moving from 5K to 10K, all we quite simply do is we add in extra sets, reps, and time to that period of training as well. So if they're, instead of running for 20 minutes, we're going to start to get them to run for 40 minutes. Take the average 5K to 10K, it's going to be around about double the time plus around about another 2 to 5 minutes of period of time as well. So let's start to think about the way that the person is going to be running. On the Tuesday and Thursday, we want them to start to increase either the amount of hill sprints that they're doing or the amount of sprint intervals that they're going to be doing as well. Now, it's really key that your communication is all about increasing the potential of the runner as opposed to actually just giving them a challenging session each time. It's not about getting them to push themselves to be flat out where they either potentially run the risk of exhaustion or they just don't want to do it or maybe don't even want to work that hard. It's always about giving them the option of 3 to 5 reps or from 5 to 7. So if they feel good, they can go for more, but you're looking for a minimum period of time of around about 20 minutes of running during each session as well. Now, as our client has been running for 2 to 3 times a week, she's been getting in around about 20 to 30 minutes of running. Now, that hasn't been consecutive running yet, but we're working towards that. First of all, I would start to get her to continue the Count to 5K style, where we're actually going to get her to maybe build up the amount of time that she actually spends running. Now, each week I would set out a steady progression where every 3 weeks she starts to improve. So week 1, week 2 and week 3, she's increasing the time that she's running for. But I am going to have a 4th week where we actually make it a slightly easier week. This is to not deter her and hopefully make her feel like she's actually working towards a plan. Sometimes if you always are looking to get people to work week after week with steady improvement, if they do miss a week or they start to find it just hard, then they start to feel like they're not achieving. So one of the things that we can do is put in a slightly easier week and we can maybe start to use a little bit of one of the sessions to do a little bit of strength and conditioning and we can start to build that. So check out the next video to understand what exercises I would recommend for a runner. Okay, so let's start to think about some of the exercises that would really benefit this client when she starts to improve her running. So first of all, I've always worked with TRX for a long period of time, so I'm a big fan of using the TRX system. It's great for working out at home, but very useful in gym scenarios as well. Now, one of the things that I'm going to get her to do is just start to work on a little bit of stability around her joints. So looking at the ankle, the knee and the hip. So I'm going to get her to do a TRX lunge. Now this lunge can develop into a crossing balance lunge. The benefit of these exercises is they're going to start to build in some stability around the key joints that running is going to challenge. But it also helps improve the engagement of working a whole chain of muscles. Now that's some really good stuff when you're starting to run and wanting to push off the floor to increase that stride length a little bit more. One of the other exercises I thoroughly recommend is doing these glute bridges. And again, it's an exercise that can be done just on the floor at home or in the gym. Now you're going to see a lot of people using barbells across their body. Well, we don't need to get into that. I'm a big fan of just using a simple mini band around the knees, and this is not only going to engage the glutes and the pelvic floor, but also working through the lower back and the hamstrings at the same time. Now the mini band is going to go around the knees, and this will give us a little bit more engagement, recruiting a few more of those glute muscles as well. So a really good exercise to be working on. In addition to that, another exercise that I would thoroughly recommend is actually improving the ability to push off the floor. Now, running has a real improvement of acceleration and deceleration. The way that running happens is you want to get off the ground as quick as possible. So there's a couple of options here. One is just being mindful and doing some drills in your running and potentially in the warm-up where you are trying to push off the floor, or very basically take it to skipping. Skipping is a fantastic way of building in some rhythm, but at the same time, it's a fun way. Not always easy. A lot of people will struggle to get skipping more than 2 to 3 minutes, but it is a great way to improve the ability to run and push off the floor quickly as well. Plus, you can always take it out into the park and race against the kids, so a good family favourite as well.